you decided to divide a year into 12 thematic months centered on some areas of your life where you wanted to improve. Dare I say, maybe you weren't as happy with how it was going. Take us back to that. And I'm really curious to know what the driver was. Was it more of a specific moment of realization, or was it something that developed over time into how you actually got into the concept?
Oh, no, I remember exactly where I was and how I had the idea. So I'm a writer, so I was just finishing up my book, which was a biography of JFK. And I was riding home in a crowded city bus. I live in New York City, so I was riding the bus. And we were moving really slowly, so I had one of those rare opportunities for reflection, that you don't often get in a busy day. And I looked out the window and I thought, what do I want from life anyway? And I thought, I want to be happy. And I realized I never spent any time thinking about whether I was happy. Is it possible to make yourself happier? Could I make myself happier? If so, what would I do? And I thought, I should do a happiness project. And I ran out the next day and got to the library, which is what I always do, and got a giant stack of books about happiness. Everything from ancient philosophy, contemporary science, novels, memoirs, anything I could get my hands on. I wanted to figure out, what is happiness, and is it possible to make a person happier, and how could I be happier? And the thing about me is I was already pretty happy. I was not coming from a place of deep despair, but I quickly realized there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here. There's a lot of things that I could do with my conscious thoughts and actions, things that wouldn't take a lot of time, energy, or money, that would make me happier. Plus, I wanted to have more gratitude for all the things that I already had that I was very happy about. But, it's always easier to notice the things that are going wrong than the things that are going right. And so because I thought in those first moments, I should have a happiness project, that's what I called it, my happiness project. And I did exactly what you said. I decided after doing a lot of, research and note taking, I figured out 12 big themes that I thought that I should work on in my own life to be happier, and figured out a couple concrete, manageable things to try within each theme, and just tried it all out to see what made me happier and, what didn't make any difference. And that was my happiness project.
This is an ad for BetterHelp. In a world full of noise, personal and professional growth, start with clarity. But with distractions pulling us in every direction, it's hard to think clearly, let alone be our best. And that's why therapy is a great tool, not just for healing, but for self-improvement. BetterHelp is 100% online, so you can invest in yourself on your schedule. And with over 30,000 licensed therapists, they'll match you with someone who helps you become the best version of you. Visit BetterHelp.com/Ken for 10% off your first month. Okay, give us an example of one of the themes and then what you did, and then three-parter here, let you just roll. How did it pan out for you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because let's say one of the themes were things like marriage, work, the family, the big one, time. So say within one of the things that I wanted to do was to test what the research shows, is that people who do things that are novel and challenging tend to be happier. Even with silly things, even like going to a new restaurant or exploring a new neighborhood in your city tends to make people happier. And I thought, well, maybe that's what's true for most people, but that's not going to be true for me. I like repetition. I like mastery. So, but I needed to test the idea. So I thought, okay, well, what could I do that would be novel and challenging for me to use myself as a guinea pig for that idea? And so at that time, this was years ago, I decided to start a blog, which was, all the rage those days.
Yes.
Very novel and challenging for me. It wasn't technical. It wasn't the kind of thing that I did. I was never a journalist. So writing short form in public like that wasn't something that I had ever done. And I really thought, I'll do it for a month and then I'll give it up because I'll find that it doesn't make me happier. But it did make me happier. It turns out that novelty and challenge do make people happier, even people who are like me.
Why is that?
It's very interesting. There is something in human nature where we love an atmosphere of growth. We love to grow, to learn, to fix things, to make things better, to enlarge our identity. And it's one of the nicest things about human nature that we have this impulse towards growth, that we want to grow, and doing things that are novel and challenging help us achieve that. Also, time slows down. I love habits. I read a whole book about habits, Better Than Before. But one thing about habits is they speed time. And if you've ever been in a situation where like you're in a rut where every day is exactly like every other day, just time whips by. And then you go on vacation and all of a sudden time slams to a standstill, and like each day can feel like such an adventure, because since there's so much new and challenging stuff coming into the brain, time feels richer and more dense. And so there's a lot of advantages to doing things that are novel and challenging.
In each of the themes, I'm not going to make you go through all the themes. Did you see consistency, that you were happier in each of those areas that you previously outlined? Or was it
no? Some of them didn't work. It's funny. Like one of the most common sort of suggestions for people to be happier is to keep a gratitude journal. And gratitude absolutely has an important role to play in a happy life. But I found keeping a gratitude journal to be a deeply irritating exercise. And so whatever it was supposed to do, it was not doing for me. And so I gave that up, and I found a different gratitude practice, which is for me, like I live in an apartment building. And to go outside, I have to go through 2 doors, or to come in, I have to go through 2 doors. And so I try to make that moment of transition, like a moment of like thinking about being grateful. Just the way sometimes people pause before a meal to be grateful. There's a lot of ways to do it. And I just found that as much as people go on and on about gratitude journals, I found it very annoying.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's so refreshing. You enjoy the gratitude piece. It's just the journaling piece for you, it's a non-starter. Love that.
And this is something that's really important that I learned, and with every book that I've written since, I've realized it more and more to be true, which is no tool fits every hand. That's right. People will say like, well, you have to start small. And I'm like, well, starting small is great for some people, but some people get bored if they start small. They're not interested in incremental change. They want to go big or go home. So what's wrong with starting big if that's what appeals to you and what you're more likely to stick to? Or like meditation. Again, everybody says, oh, meditation is this wonderful tool. I've tried it like 3 times for months at a time. I went on a silent meditation retreat, and I'm just like, this is a tool that doesn't work for me. I'm not saying it's not such a wonderful tool for many, many people, but it's not a tool that works for me. And so instead of just feeling like there's something wrong with me, I can say, well, it's not a tool that works for me, so how might I achieve the same aim, but in the way that's right for me?